Wonderful. And thank you all for joining us today for the Primary Industries Education Foundation National Ag Week Teacher Professional Development Session. So we know there's a National Ag Day, which is on Friday, but there's so much to talk about in terms of ag and ag education that we turn it into a whole week. So lots of really amazing activities that we have to offer to teachers across Australia. My name's Luciano Nacidi. I'm the CEO of PIEFA, and here to talk to you a little bit about PIEFA and what we have to offer before we have some fantastic presentations today. Can also ask everyone to put their computers on mute so we don't get any feedback. And this session will be recorded and available after we've completed today's session. So I'd like to provide an acknowledgement of country. In the spirit of reconciliation, PIEFA acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend our respect to all Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander peoples today. So PIEFA is a not-for-profit organisation, and we work with industry and government to develop and support and promote teaching materials about food and fibre K-12 across Australia. And so we use the term food and fibre, and most of you know that that's the term that's used in the curriculum. So we're supporting teachers in teaching that sort of content in the curriculum from K-12 and cross-curricular, not just agriculture, but across every subject. And so we're also advocates for food and fibre education. We're supported by a number of industry organisations, research and development corporations, and various organisations that are working in the space of agricultural education. We're very fortunate and grateful for the support of the many organisations that you see listed here and on the next slide. Thanks, Jane. So also, Primary Industries Education Foundation has a number of programs that allow us to reach its goal, and its many goals in terms of promotion and development of teaching materials and the like. So we have the PIEFA website, which has a link to our newsletter, our monthly newsletter, and hopefully if you don't already subscribe to it, you can go to the PIEFA website and subscribe to our newsletter, which is action-packed, full of amazing resources and information on a monthly basis. Our main resource websites are PrimeZone and PrimeZone Academy. PrimeZone has nearly 700 teaching resources, either linked to or linked through PrimeZone to other external websites, or a number of resources that we've developed ourselves. Also, PrimeZone Academy is our online teaching course platform where you'll find many of our resources that have been converted into online courses, and thus these can be done when students are in remote learning or within the classroom, and they're interactive courses and have a number of features that allow students to work through those lessons in a self-paced manner. We also have a virtual classroom program called Farmer Time, and a number of other programs included with Career Harvest, careerharvest.com.au. And Jane, if you just go back one more slide, thank you. Career Harvest, and we have a number of STEM and a number of teacher PD programs, including the STEM teacher PD sessions that we offer. And Ag Career Start, which I think that Ingrid will be talking about today. But why is food and fibre education so important? Next slide. We did some research, and we found out that students do struggle in understanding where their food comes from, and there's some data there, and we know that we need to increase that knowledge through our engagement. But not only that there are so many careers available in agriculture, and currently, according to the National Farmers Federation, there are 170,000 jobs available in Australia today. And there are 6 jobs for every graduate, whether it be from TAFE or from university. So there's a massive need for young people to get involved in agriculture today. And really breaking down those barriers that agriculture doesn't solely mean the stereotype, which is old man on a tractor, and that there are so many careers along the supply chain. Next, Jane.
Thanks for that, Luch.
All good. Thank you. I'll be back later on.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for that. My apologies for being a little bit trigger happy with the slide flicking there. My name's Jane, and I facilitate the Farmer Time program for PIEFA. And so I just going to talk to you a little bit about the program today and the ways that it can be implemented in senior school classrooms to really enhance food and fibre education in a cross-curricular manner. So the Australian Farmer Time sessions provide students with an opportunity to virtually visit farms and explore the journey from paddock to plate or farm to fibre. So each of these online sessions has a curriculum focus, is targeted to specific year groups, for example, years 3 to 4, years 9 to 10, and is accompanied by a series of learning resources that support staff in addressing cross-curricular priorities such as sustainability or Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives. So each of our Farmer Time sessions can be found on the Producer Protected website, which is linked here, along with the PIEFA YouTube channel, which is linked here. So Farmer Time sessions take place in 3 formats. We've got live sessions, which are held during special events such as National Ag Week or National Science Week. And essentially these are open to schools across Australia to sign up. And basically we target these to year bands. So again, years 3 to 4, years 9 to 10, etc. And we provide the producers selected for the sessions with a series of curriculum aligned talking points so that the sessions are really targeted and meaningful for the students that are engaging in them. After the producer has presented what they would like to speak about regarding to their industry and the curriculum focus points that they've been provided with, students are then given the opportunity to pop some questions in the chat so they can have a live interactive Q&A session. Our one-on-one sessions are very similar to the live session in the fact that they take place via a video call sort of format. However, they are a little bit more targeted and a little bit more personal in that they are held for one class of students with a specific producer. So teachers reach out to us seeking a producer from a specific industry that their students may have been learning about or may be about to learn about. And we work with the teacher to specifically tailor the talking points that we provide to the producer to ensure that it's catering to the learning styles and abilities of their students, and also really just to hone in on the specific areas that they're going to be covering during their unit of work or that they have covered so far. So after the producer has again facilitated this sort of more focused discussion, students are then given the opportunity to ask any questions that they have. The final format of Farmer Time sessions that we have are our pre-recorded sessions, and these are essentially a virtual farm tour. So PIEFA staff go out on farm and we create content that is targeted to the design and technologies outcome of the curriculum, along with biological sciences. We look at sustainability, we look at tools and technology, and the processes involved in the paddock to plate journey or the farm to fibre journey, so that we can create these beautiful virtual farm tours that are accessible on our website that students can engage in, and that provides a really good visual representation of the processes involved on farm. And then, you know, particularly for students that may be in metro areas that don't have the opportunity to go out on farm and to visit, they get an understanding of what a day in the life of a farmer actually looks like. So they're a really fantastic resource to be able to use within the classroom. So as you can see here, we've delved into a wide variety of industries since we commenced the pre-recorded Farmer Time session format. And you can see the list of all of the industries that we've covered so far. So as I said, these are all accessible on the PIEFA YouTube channel and also on the Producer Protected website, which is an offshoot of our PIEFA Prime Zone website. So you can see here that with the diversity of Farmer Time sessions available, along with the accompanying curriculum resources that can be found with these sessions, they can be used as a really fantastic tool to, no matter what industry you might be looking to explore. Or if you were looking for a guided inquiry session, you might provide your students with this list and allow them to explore the different industries that they're interested in, and then, you know, complete the follow-on Prime Zone tasks that are available to accompany each of these as well. So now that you've got a bit of an understanding of the Farmer Time program, we're going to have a look at one of the pre-recorded Farmer Time sessions that we have available and consider some of the ways that it could be used in your classroom to enhance student learning and to provide them with a greater insight into production within Australia. So Farmer Time sessions are really meaningful when they're not used standalone, but alongside accompanying learning resources or specific units of work. So dependent on what you may already be using within your classroom or exploring within your areas of production in the classroom, you may select a specific Farmer Time that works alongside that. Or as I said before, it could be a student-led thing where they're able to select the Farmer Time session and the activities that they find interesting. So each of our Farmer Time sessions is accompanied by a farmer profile. And essentially what this does is just breaks down the key terms that are going to be heard in the video and highlights some of the key information so that, you know, if students are consuming a lot of information within a video, they're then able to understand or have that bit of learning about where the form of production is and what's actually going to be taking place in the video. So we're now going to have a look at an example of a pre-recorded Farmer Time session that was filmed early last year with a producer called Jade, who is a finger lime grower in Queensland. And she's actually an awesome sort of a little case study, I guess, because she is not only a finger lime grower, but she's also a qualified agronomist and a high school ag teacher. So she's truly a miraculous person. But she got into finger lime production when she set her ag students a research task to look into up and coming markets. And when one of her students came back with a report about finger lime production and finger lime use in fine dining contexts, Jade actually dived in headfirst, and she's now doing some really amazing work in the finger lime world. And she's won a heap of awards, and she's just doing some really awesome things. So I'm going to play the video for you, but before I do, I'm just going to jump out of here and pop myself on mute because we had a bit of a reverb issue earlier.
Jane, we can't hear anything. You'll need to turn your sound on.
Oh, there you go. There you go. All right. Well, we'll give that another crack.
Let's try that again.
Yep. No worries. All right. See how we go now.
Hi everyone, I'm Jade from Green Valley Finger Limes. It's really good to see you today, or virtually see you. And basically, I live in Queensland on the Sunshine Coast. We're in a subtropical climate here, and so it's a beautiful day today. A nice, pleasant, probably around about 25 degrees, even though it's winter still. We have nice rainfall. Most of our rainfall comes through summertime, and my farm is in the area that we call the Glasshouse Mountains, and it's 72 acres or 35 hectares for those that are, obviously you guys are a lot younger than me. And so here on my farm, I've got a couple of farm hands that help me work with the farm, and I employ some amazing backpackers when they're available as well. And the benefit of having backpackers come in and help me pick when it's high season is that I get to learn about their country, and they learn about our great produce of Australian native finger limes, which is what I grow on this farm. So finger limes are an Australian native, and they naturally occur around the southeast corner of Queensland, as well as in the north northern New South Wales region. And they normally grow in the rainforest areas, and we've taken them out of the rainforest, a bit like the macadamias, and started growing them commercially. Yep. So you might be asking, what are finger limes? And they're pretty cool. They're very unique. And whilst it says finger lime, the reason for that is they are a bit shaped like fingers, and they are filled with lime pearls. Let me show you a few. We'll come in here. I'll grab this one from the bush. Now I'm doing it without my gloves on, and I'll explain in a minute why I normally wear gloves. But this is one of the small fruit. We cut them open like that. We open them up, and you can see those pearls just bursting out there. Each of those pearls pop in your mouth as you eat them, and makes it a bit of an exciting dish to have on top of ice cream. And also anyone like seafood and prawns, things like that. They can be on all of those things. So the reason I should have worn gloves and why my pickers wear gloves is, and they're very good gloves, they're not just your ordinary ones, is if you come in here, you can see all these spikes all over the bush. And when you're picking them, you can see that the finger limes are right in there, and we have to reach on in through the spikes and harvest those finger limes. So gloves are really important. Also, my pickers and myself wear long sleeves and jeans as part of what we have to do. They are very spiky, and we get a lot of spikes all through our hands.
All right, I will stop it there just because I am aware of time. However, Jade does go on to talk about different management practices utilised on her farm. And as you can see there, she sort of touches on farm safety a little bit. So these resources can be used in a plethora of different ways within the classroom to highlight different features of production. On the following slides, I've just included a couple of curriculum outcomes that this specific session could link to, some suggested learning tasks that could accompany the session, along with some supporting resources that are available on Prime Zone. So in terms of looking at, First Nations food and fibre sources and thinking about native food production, this is a really great tool, comparing native growing conditions of finger limes compared with, large-scale production of native foods. It's like a really fantastic tool as a springboard to get your students thinking about these things. On the next slide, we've also got some further examples of the ways that this resource could be used in more of a technological context. So looking at different farming methods, looking at technologies and tools that are solving concerns in agriculture. On the next slide, I've just included an example of the ways that another of our pre-recorded Farmer Time sessions might be used within the classroom for years 9 and 10 students. Thinking about the, ways that technologies and tools in agriculture are being used to improve profitability, productivity, sustainability, and social responsibility. So the Ellenbank Smart Farm is a really interesting Farmer Time session because it was filmed at Ellenbank Smart Farm, funnily enough, which is a research dairy farm in Victoria, which explores all of the new innovations that can be used within the dairy industry, and then trials them and researches the different kind of impacts that these have on production, providing that information to producers that may not potentially have the finances to be able to just go out on a whim and try these things independently. So it's a really great example of the many very innovative technologies being used in the industry and the ways that they're used and the impacts that they're having on production. So that's a fantastic one to have a look at if you have the capacity to do so. And as I said, that can be found not only on the PIEFA YouTube channel, but also on the Produce It, Protect It website. And a final example is just our sustainability along the vegetable supply chain and the ways that this can be used within a years 9 and 10 context as well, thinking about the marketing of vegetables. All right. I'm now just going to chat to you briefly about a few of the up and coming resources that PIEFA has been developing with our member organisations. So these resources are a fantastic tool, or will be a fantastic tool, and will be available in early to mid 2023. So the first one that I'll just chat about is the Meat and Livestock Australia suite of resources. So this has been designed for students in Foundation to Year 10, and these will be contained on the Australian Good Meat website, and they will be available from about January of next year, which is really exciting. So the years 7 to 10 resources, they focus on sustainable production now and in the future, as well as detailing how a product is taken through the supply chain with a focus on innovation and technology. These lessons cover the design and technologies aspects of the Australian curriculum, and they're aligned to both version 9 and version 8.4 for ease of searching when you're looking for them online. So in terms of the resources that are available within this suite, teachers are provided with lesson guides along with resource and equipment lists, all of the worksheets and activities required for the lesson, along with answers for people that may potentially not have the subject knowledge or simply for student guidance there. And there are additional online learning tasks for students in years 5 to 10 that can be utilised as homework or extension activities. So they're a really fantastic tool. The first 500 schools registered for the resources will also receive 4 printed posters, which can be used as interactive visual stimulus within the classroom. So there are 13 posters that have been designed alongside the suite of resources, as well as a hands-on card game, which allows students to collaborate to display the paddock to plate supply chain. So this is a really fantastic tool to be used within your classroom. To find out more about the MLA resources or to keep up to date with the resources and when they are going to be released, you can contact Alison Arnott, who is our Senior Education Officer. She's been working on these resources for about 12 months, if not longer, and so is all over the details of when they will be released and when they will be sending out resource packs. So if you're interested in registering for those to access the posters or the paddock to plate card game, she's the person to speak to. Another fantastic resource that is coming in 2023 is the Healthy Living Soils website, which will provide students and teachers with the ability to access an interactive website containing lesson plans for students in years 7 to 10. So PIEFA has been working for Soil Science Australia along with Soils for Life to develop this series of online learning resources for students. Each of these resources offers lesson plans, worksheets, and hands-on learning tasks. And the website is really engaging and interactive for students as it explores the importance of soil health for different stakeholders. As I said, this one will also be released in 2023, but likely closer to the middle of the year. All right, that's it for me. I'm now going to play a short video for you about the Career Harvest website, which has been created by Ingrid, one of our PIEFA team members. So I'm just going to play this video for you. Hopefully we don't have any audio issues. And then if you do have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat for Ingrid, but there will be some time at the end of the session for questions as well.
Hello, my name is Ingrid Gao and I'm the Student Engagement Officer with PIEFA. One of my projects with PIEFA is Career Harvest. What is Career Harvest, you might wonder? Well, this is a web page that has got all the information relating to careers in agriculture, scholarships, jobs, pathways, resources for teachers. There's a tremendous amount of information available around careers in agriculture. And what we've done with Career Harvest is to try and put it all in one place. To give you a bit of background, I'm going to start here and we'll just look at the history of Career Harvest and what it is. So Career Harvest is a one-stop shop for prospective students to discover rewarding careers. How did it come about? In 2011, the Australian Councils of Deans of Agriculture got together and thought they needed to put something together. In 2017, PIEFA then partnered with the Deans of Agriculture to take over the operation and further development of Career Harvest. So now I'm going to just talk about all the features of the web page. So if we go back to the home button, perhaps the first thing to point out to you is this tab here, Careers. This is our search function for careers on Career Harvest. If you press this button, you can put in any career and search for it. Sorry. If you click the search button, all the careers sort of related to the agronomist will come up. You can then click on that and then you'll get a bit of information about what an agronomist manager does, their tasks, their personal requirements, and how you might become an agronomist. So that's a useful button to remember about just broad career searches on Career Harvest. The first tab here, called Careers, talks all about careers in more generally. So it's about career support. It's about career pathways within industries. If we look at what's under career support, it takes you to the New South Wales page. However, I think this information is relevant to all states. And if, for example, we look at the gap year guide, this is a good point of discussion to have with your year 12 students or your 11 students who are thinking, when you're starting to try to get them to think about what they might do when they leave school. It's got some really useful episodes about doing a gap year or going to university or taking that time out between school and starting something else. So if we scroll down here to the guides, it gives you some information on what is a gap year, and it's got some great little case studies where students have discussed issues they have. For example, they have issues with money. There's a summary of the story and then some questions that you could start as a discussion point with your class. So that's quite a useful thing to have when you're starting to talk about careers, what you're going to do when you leave school. The other thing we have, as I mentioned, these are industry career guides. This is a new fabulous resource which has been put together by the Queensland Farmers Federation. To access it, you click here. So this guide, while it has a Queensland focus, is clearly applicable to the whole of Australia. It again focuses on careers in ag. They spend quite a lot of time interviewing young people who work in ag, asking them about their jobs, the challenges to their jobs, their career pathways, what will be of interest to you as teachers will probably be the resources for teachers. So here we have a whole lot of QR codes that are going to take you to different resources. For example, if you click on cotton, it talks about cotton careers. And if we scroll down a wee bit, you can see there's cotton classrooms. And this is going to give you some teaching resources about cotton and how to use those in your classroom. So that's that guide. And then we've got other industry guides here. Under scholarships, so it's important for students to understand there is money available for them when they leave and how they can go forward. So this is again another scholarship search function, how you might use this. You could create a scenario for your class saying you're a student, you want to go to university or agricultural college, however your parents do not have a lot of money. So if you type in something like hardship, you can see which scholarships are going to come up with those that provide resources for students. So Charles Sturt have one called Ag Accessibility Kickstart Scholarship. You could work this through your students saying, okay, for example, if you want to go to university, here are the options. If you're studying these courses, there's money available. These are the conditions. This is how much money you get. And how do you get the scholarship? You have to answer this question, and that might be an interesting task to set for your class anyway, giving a little research task pretending that they want to apply for the scholarship. Under Ag Career Start, so this follows on our idea of having a gap year for those students who are undecided and do not know what they want to do. This is a great initiative funded by the National Farmers Federation and supported by the National Farmers Federation. It's running at the moment. This is a gap year where students can work anywhere in Australia. They can select the farm they'd like to work on. They will be paid at award rates. They will get a training budget, so they'll be able to upskill themselves while they're on that farm, and they also get money to attend industry events. So this is a really super opportunity to highlight to those students who are undecided as what to do, or those students who maybe want to try a career in agriculture. This link here takes you to the Ag Career Start webpage, where clearly there's lots more information and videos about the project. Under Ag Jobs, so this link obviously is taking you to all those employment agencies and jobs we have in agriculture. So here we can see those employment agencies that focus on agriculture. This is a really great, interesting one. They have stories about employers. So if we look at the cattle stations far up north, you can get a bit of information about those cattle stations, where they are. If you're teaching geography, for instance, you might want to ask kids to find out where these cattle stations are. Or as a maths problem, you could say, well, what percentage of Queensland is made up of cattle stations, for example. It just gives you a bit of background about those cattle stations and the jobs on those stations. Huron News is also a fantastic resource. It tells you stories about living on cattle stations. There's some great podcasts, what you should bring to a cattle station, for example. So these might be useful things to get your students to look at if you have 5-10 minutes at the end of the lesson, just to broaden their minds and teach them a little bit more about other industries and cattle stations. So these are all those jobs. So now that gives students some idea. You might also use these jobs. You could ask them to say you're an agronomist, where you're going to find a job, and get them to search to see which industries are employing agronomists, where is the job, what are the skills required, how much do they get paid, etc. Under career videos, we again have a whole lot of videos discussing careers within agriculture. Lots of different careers here. So that's another opportunity for you to explore and show your students different careers. Under Teachers tab, we have lots of fantastic resources for teachers. Again, we've tried to put them all in one place. Obviously, these resources are available everywhere else, but it's nice to have them in one spot. So, for example, if you are in year 9, year 10 teaching about meat and the meat industry, and you want to look at processing of meat and discuss the career paths, there are some lesson plans there available for you. The last thing, there are a few other things. So those are the top tabs, so you have an idea of what they are and how you might use them in your classroom. This is a great button here, Surprise Me. It will just give you some random career or from our careers list. You could ask all your students to click on that, and a whole lot of different careers will come up, and that gives you a great starting opportunity to discuss a variety of careers in agriculture. And finally, we've also got careers associated with each of these career paths. So if people are interested in administration or animals, they can click on those, and there are lots of careers associated with them. This is a great way, maybe if you want your students to draw a bar graph, you could ask them to select 6 of these. They'd count how many careers are associated with them, draw the bar graph, and then you could discuss why you get those differences between the different career paths. So hopefully that gives you an overview of how to use Career Harvest. It's a fantastic resource, lots of information available there for you. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Ingrid. That was awesome. All right, I'm going to now flick over and pass over to Heidi, who is going to chat to you about farm safety.
Thanks, Jane. Can you hear me all okay? Yeah. Okay, so my name is Heidi Tempera, and I'm one of the education officers at PIEFA. And my job so far has been to develop a farm safety program aimed for high school students. The funding has come from the Australian Federal Government, the Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry, with also stakeholders, Ag Shows Australia and Farm Safe Australia as well. So it was certainly a complex proposition to start with, but one that I have thoroughly enjoyed. So you can see we've developed an acronym called ACE, which stands for Assess, Change and Engage, and I'm going to explain that to you now. Next slide. Thanks, Jane. Okay, so we've got the why, which is just what I've introduced to you there. I mean, it's constantly in the news about farming being one of the top 3 dangerous jobs for people to be involved in. Who they're our stakeholders there, but of course ultimately our audience is secondary students via the secondary teachers who will deliver the information. The aim was to develop a series of lessons, and from that we've put together a farm safety kit aimed at Australian secondary schools, but it was really important for individual schools to have autonomy over what they delivered, working within the Australian curriculum outcomes, but also being unique to their own needs. And if they were regional, rural, metro, if they're an agricultural college, obviously their context is slightly different. The time frame we're working towards, so at the beginning of the project, we put out a survey. I see some familiar names here of people that filled out that survey pre-project, so thank you very much for that. The development of the resource kit, which just got posted out today, and we've got 10 pilot schools around the country who will be delivering the kit, the resource package, and they will be feeding back to me regularly what works, what doesn't work, what the students liked, what was relevant, just getting all the feedback I possibly can before I fine tune it, before it gets rolled out nationally at the end of next year. Thanks, Jane. Okay, so it was really important for me to do a survey to find out exactly what teachers and students wanted, and it would actually, the survey was one for teachers and one for students, and there was lots of discussions I had with industries as well. So the non-negotiables we know now, engaging, students need to be able to put part of themselves into an activity, whether that be hands-on, collaborative nature, whatever form it takes in your subject area. Students said they wanted real-life stories. This was a little bit complex to start off with because it's a fine line when you're showing some stories that are to do with farm safety, particularly when students have their own personal stories that you may not be aware of, but also as well, we didn't want to highlight that, oh, well, that person survived it, so I can take risks too. So that was quite challenging, but we've managed for each activity to provide a QR link to a story of somebody that has had an experience with that farm safety issue. Definite cross-curricular planning. So the kit comes with links to D&T, HPE, sorry, Health and Phys Ed. I'm based in WA, so sorry if some of those terms aren't lining up with what you use. But again, we know that teaching, we've got to start working a little bit more efficiently. We know that the curriculum is crowded. We know that we are time poor. We know that we're weary. We know that there's a shortage. So how can we work a little bit more efficient without having to work harder? We know we're already working hard. It was integral that students be part of the planning and solution, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next couple of slides. Activities that allow for curriculum modification. So each activity at the end is called Extra Extra, and that will allow for natural inbuilt curriculum modification. So for those students that require a little bit more support, or those students that require a little bit more extension, the problem solvers, so to speak. Background knowledge is provided for context. We know that there's not a lot of qualified ag teachers out there, and with rural and remote schools, we know that the teachers standing in front of the class quite often, that's not their major, that's not their area. So information is provided for teachers so they don't feel they're a bit out of their depth. And again, that teacher autonomy in selecting lessons suitable for your students and your school context. The lessons are standalone lessons. They don't have to be done consecutively. They do stand on their own. So when you're doing your planning, you're able to have a look at the list of activities there and plan accordingly, that you might want some but not want the others. So that was built in as well. Thanks, Jane. So after talking to lots of industry and lots of teachers as well, it was really important for me we start applying this hierarchy of control. Now, hierarchy of control is an industry term, and it's based with risk assessment, but I didn't think that there was any reason why students can't learn this as well. In the kit, I actually changed the name of it slightly. So elimination becomes remove, substitution becomes replace, but I wanted to show you the context of the industry reference that we use here. To me, this is how we start to get students being part of the solution. And this way as well, we can say to the industries, students do have an awareness when it comes to risk assessment, but we don't want to give them risk assessment matrices like they use in industry, because A, they're quite boring, and B, they're actually not relevant to students. Students aren't little adults, they're students. And by using this basis and just exposing students to the terminology is a good way to start once they get to enter into industry when they leave school. So my approach has come up with the psychology of safety and students being part of the solution. So we know that we can't just tell kids not to do something. They hear us say, don't do this, not to do it that way. So the psychology behind this is that students not only look after their mates, but they start to look at the psychology and science behind safety. And an example of that is the quad bike activities. We know that quad bikes are in the news quite often to do with farm injuries and fatalities. So one of the activities to do with the quad bikes is learning about centre of gravity. Centre of gravity, or the shift of centre of gravity, is the issue why the bikes roll over. So by making students understanding the science and the physics behind it, they now know that if you've got an extra person on there, or if you're carting a hay bale, or whatever it is you are doing, what terrain you're going on, it's the centre of gravity that is going to cause the rollover, and getting them to be part of, oh, okay, I can see that this is starting to happen. This is what I need to do. So engaging into that hierarchy of control straight away. So we're not only educating, we're informing the kids, and we're making them part of the solution, rather than just the big, standing there with a big stick saying, don't do it this way. Thanks, Jane. So where does the safety ACE part come into it? Well, hopefully if you've understood what I've explained so far, and sorry if I'm talking quite quickly, the A stands for assess. So we're teaching the kids that every time you step outside or step onto a farm, everything has the potential to cause harm. Who's with you? What are you doing? Where are you going? How are you doing? There's that constant scanning, and we're asking the kids to see everything on the farm through the safety goggle lenses. If you're thinking about climbing the hay rolls, who's going to be doing it? Should they be doing it? Are they going to do it? What can you do to look out for them? And then the change is going through that hierarchy of control in their head. They're assessing the information. What do they need to do, again, to be part of that solution? And then engage. Once you have changed, if anything needs to be changed, so that's the elimination, substitution, PPE, can you continue on with your task, ensuring that safety is maintained and constantly assessed? It's not just you tick it off and say that it's done. It's that constant assessment. Sorry, I think I forgot to say that the project is aimed predominantly at year 9 and 10s. And I am going to say boys there, because we know that the data shows that they are the risk takers. And the studies also show us that boys are quite willing to take risks with their own safety, but not with that of their mates. So it's appealing to that sense of friendship and loyalty and looking out for your mates as well, which we know works for boys. So that's built into a fair bit of the activities as well. It certainly doesn't ignore the girls, but we know if we cater for the boys, the girls will follow. But if we just cater for the girls, we'll lose the boys. So that was the thinking behind that. Thanks, Jane. So what do the activities actually cover? Initially, I started looking at industries, but they were so specific to different states. Again, I'm in WA, and when I spoke to the lady in Queensland to do with sugarcane, which fascinated me, but some of the issues there, we obviously don't have. We don't have sugarcane. So I looked at the data, what predominantly was causing injuries on farms nationwide, and this is what we came up with. So most of them have got 2 activities to do with them. Some have only got 1, so the emergency plans and noise safety. Again, there's 2 there on mental health. So 1 to do with community. Obviously, rural and regional communities are quite different to metro, and then also individual. But you might look at that and think, you know what, our school actually covers that a fair bit, in pastoral care periods, or mental health planning days, or whatever activities you have going on at school. So you might think we don't need to worry about that one, and that's where your autonomy comes in. Obviously, there were some that, just had to be in the, the quad bikes and machinery caused quite big issues as well, and zoonosis with foot and mouth disease and lumpy skin disease coming out, especially this year, that became quite prevalent as well. So that's what we came up with there. Safety issues in Australia, I guess I'm calling them. And onto the last slide. Thanks, Jane. Oh, did I add the last one and not send it to you? Sorry. The last one was just going to show the layout of what the actual teacher manual looks like. It's quite I think, quite easy to use. And again, we know that the curriculum is crowded. So the challenge for us was, how do we provide you a resource that isn't just going to look good on a shelf gathering dust, because we all know that our libraries are full of them. So the idea is that successfully, promote success, and that the students start to use the terminology of being a safety ace in their everyday vocab in ag and then design technology, and possibly it might spill into other subject areas as well, depending on what they're on. I believe that all the activities are engaging. It's not chalk and talk, because we know that that's not what students respond to these days. And the activities really rely on the students' input, looking at them. They don't have any choice but to engage. And hopefully by them having their voice and being part of the solution, we'll want them to engage a fair bit more as well. Thanks, Jane. So if there's any questions, shoot away afterwards, and more than happy to talk about it.
Thanks, Heidi. All right, back to you, Luch.
Thanks, Heidi. Thanks, Jane. Just wanted to mention PIEFA is having a conference in Canberra next year on the 1st and 2nd of May. Lots of information about the conference if you go to our conference website. If you just go to piefa.edu.au, follow the links there. But predominantly 2 days of workshops, keynote speakers, and lightning sessions. And a lot of education organisations and teachers sharing their resources and their programs. So it's 2 days of quite a lot of information and sharing about food and fibre education. And if you've got any other questions, please don't hesitate to email me. And if you haven't joined our newsletter, there's a QR code there that takes you directly to the newsletter page. But we've got lots of social media and on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So and you'll be sent a survey asking you any further questions about your resource needs, because it's really important that we meet your needs, and very happy to understand more about what you require in terms of food and fibre support and education. And if we've got any questions, quite happy to take them now. And I think that's the end of the presentation, isn't it, Jane?
That's it.
Any questions or any queries, either put them in the chat area or just put your hand up. Everyone's silent. It's been a long day. All good. Well, if you do have any questions or queries, please let us know. And look, we've thrown a lot of information at you. I know there's a lot there, but there's a lot going on with PIEFA and some extraordinary projects that we're involved with. And we will just confirm Alison's email address. And if you again, if you need to contact me, CEO@piefa.edu.au, and I can direct you to the information that you need.